how are you, Larry? I'm here with a young lady that reached out to me. I've known for several years. Awesome young lady. The community that I work in, this young lady have done a lot in that community. And she brought to my attention, she stopped past the church today reaching out for help. Let me know about a situation that occurred, I think, on August the 26th. On August the 26th, she lives up in the Moore Park, am I pronouncing that correctly? Moore Park area. And in that area, a situation happened where her and her kids, total of 3 kids, was involved with an incident with 40 Caucasians were chasing her kids, a 17-year-old nephew, her 14-year-old daughter, and another young male. They were chasing them. They were chasing them to her home, which is on the video itself, the footage, 2 stores that's in that area, right off of Washington Boulevard. The store owners have the videos, as we were told that one of the detectives picked up the videos, so they can see that the 40 young men, the 40 Caucasian young men were chasing her kids to their homes. However, I'm going to let her finish with the story.
My name is Cachet Powell.
Sorry.
On August the 26th, my nephew and his friend were coming from the store, and when my daughter ran downstairs and told me to come outside. When I reached my door, it was about 15 to 20 white males at this time surrounding my nephews. And I came outside, got into a verbal altercation. As I'm in a verbal altercation with these males, about 20 more white males, women, men, children, all coming down the street with bats, sticks, chains, coming down the street to see what was going on. We got into a verbal altercation. My nephew was assaulted. He was hit in the face. I was hit in the face, and that's how the fight broke out. Now, during this time, only 3 people were arrested, myself, my nephew, and his friend at that time. None of the white males was arrested. They had sticks, chains, and everything. My daughter was stabbed. My nephew was hit in his face with a brick. I was hit in the face by one of the white guys. My nephew was hit by one of the white guys. My daughter was stabbed. No report, no detective came to the hospital to interview my daughter. She was kept there overnight. None of the white males was arrested. At the time when the fight broke out, I had...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
At the time when the fight broke out, verbal altercation, my nephew was hit, I was hit, and so I swung a bat. Now, this whole thing is racial, it's territorial. I don't know why they... It's...
Take your time.
And you say your daughter was stabbed. How old is your daughter?
My daughter was stabbed. My 14-year-old daughter, she was stabbed.
Where, in the back,
she was stabbed in the groin. Took over to John Hopkins at shock trauma. The detective, his name is Detective Powell. He interviewed all the other victims per se. He never came and interviewed my daughter. Never took a statement from my daughter. He just brushed it under the rug, saying that my nephew or the other guy stabbed my daughter, which is not true. My daughter knows exactly the face of the person who stabbed her. They're not doing anything about this. They won't reach out to us. They won't return phone calls or anything. This whole incident is just completely racial. I was arrested on a $75,000 bail. I've never been arrested before, never been in trouble before. I'm a stand-up citizen. I don't bother anybody. It's just...
Well, why did they give you a $75,000 bail? You never been arrested.
I have no idea.
What charge did they place on you?
They charged me with first-degree assault. First and second-degree assault with a deadly weapon. Okay. And the officer at the time, he made up a bogus police report. He said that he was standing in front of me. He tried to tase me, which he didn't. He never tried to tase me. He never, after the fact, after me and my nephew was assaulted, and I swung the bat, that's when I heard him saying, put the bat down, put the bat down. As me and my nephew was being arrested, we laying on the ground in cuffs. That's when I heard that my daughter was stabbed. And in that process, my nephew got a little upset. This officer took his taser out and he tased my nephew 2 times. Why? And he's already on the ground.
How old is your nephew?
My nephew is 17. Just graduated from high school, all-star of his baseball team. He's on his way to college.
Question, what officer, I know you mentioned that the detective have the videotape, which we were told, that can show and prove
Detective
that you
Powell.
guys are innocent, Detective
Detective
Powell.
Powell.
Now, which was the officer that first arrived on the scene?
I believe Officer Davis.
Okay, that's the one that arrived on the scene, and he mentioned that he saw this, he saw you hit this guy with the bat, but he didn't see the other young man hit him in the face with the brick.
Right.
So if he's seen,
If he seen me swung the bat, he would have seen me and my nephew get assaulted first. So
Okay.
why is none of this in our police reports?
okay, when you first moved in that area, I know me speaking with you, you mentioned when you moved in that area that an incident happened with your 5-year-old son.
Yes.
Can you explain that to me, please?
We was there probably about 3 weeks. We had an incident where my son ran in the house crying. The little boy running in the neighborhood was calling him niggas. So I went to his parents' house. His father came outside yelling, hooting, and hollering, get my gun, get my gun. And it took for I believe the little boy, she said that's her nephew. The guy's her brother-in-law. It took for her to come around acting like a civilized adult to talk to me and tell me that this is not this little boy's first time calling people niggas. So he's getting it from somewhere. He was
And how old
raised
is
that
he?
way. The little boy
yeah.
or my son.
The
The
little
little
boy
boy.
that
The
called.
little boy, he's about 10. My son is 5.
Before you moved in that area, I know you mentioned to me that you heard a few things about that particular area. Can you just tell me just a little about that?
They said it's a lot of they racial, they very territorial up there, but I just wanted to move, you know, me and my kids. I thought it was a nice neighborhood, but evidently it's not.
100 block.
The 2400 block of Washington Boulevard.
And how many other news stations have you reached out to?
I reached out to WBAL. I reached out to Kai Jackson. I reached out to, that's WJZ. I believe Kai Jackson is
And
with
no
them.
one was able to help you?
No one. They didn't want to hear my side of the story. They said that the reporter who's covering the case, he would get back to me. He never got back to me. He never said anything.
So has any other detective been to see your daughter when she was stabbed in the
No,
hospital? Anyone
not
come
one.
and see her?
Not one.
Okay. You mentioned when you were arrested, the detective, you said his name is Detective Powell. He came up to see you, and what did he say to you?
He asked me, well, he didn't ask me. He said, your nephew's a drug dealer. I said, what? My nephew not a drug dealer. I said, my nephew, he just graduated high school, all-star his baseball team. He's on his way to college. He said, yeah, I bet, and walked off. Then he came back and said, oh, your daughter was stabbed. That's it, and that's all.
Okay. As far as this situation, how do you think this is a racist?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because if his 30 to 40 white people there with sticks, chains, and bats, and only 3 people got arrested, that was myself, my nephew, and the other young man. We was the only people that got arrested.
So y'all the only African American got arrested.
Yes.
Now, can you go back to your house?
Let me rephrase that. They did bring in another guy. I guess he was the one who busted my window. They brought him in, and 20 minutes later, he walked out with a citation.
Okay, so you telling me? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Larry.
So who bust your window?
I don't even. Have his name.
Allegedly, was he white or black?
He was white. White man.
How old he probably was?
He's probably in his mid-20s.
Mid-20s, and he just walked out with a citation?
A citation. They brought him in cuffs, and they let him back out with a citation.
What district is this?
Southwest.
Okay, Southwest District.
Yeah.
So how many officers arrived on the scene at the time, or
At the time, it was 2 officers.
Okay.
Officer Davis, and it was another officer.
Okay. So right now, our main question is the videotape can prove that you guys are innocent, but right now we don't. The Officer Powell or Detective Powell, he have the videotape.
Yes, I called the American market myself because I'm cool with the owners of the market. I'm cool with them, and I called and I asked them, can I get a copy of the tape? Can we come and see the tape? He said, I would love to give you a copy of the tape, and I would love to let you see it, but the detectives took it.
So what did the owner of the store, what did he tell you?
He told me he witnessed my nephew and the other young gentleman coming up, past, they was right in front of his store.
Okay.
And he witnessed them having an argument because he came to the front. And then he said he seen my nephew and them crossing the street and all the white boys proceeding across the street behind them.
And you pray and wish that things like this doesn't happen any longer. However, things like this still exist. I Googled that community and I see that a lot of things like that exist. I know a few years ago, a gentleman told me that he was living in that area. African-American male reached out to me and told me that his car windows was busted in that area and his house was vandalized. You know, sometimes you hear things and you sit and you say, okay, think racism, you know, it's over, it's done, you know, freedom of speech, this is America, you know, we all have our rights, you know, it's not about color any longer. However, in this particular situation, I think that is a color thing. If you have 40 people that's coming up against you, you have to defend yourself. And then here it is, you have 2 officers. You have a detective that did not go to see about your daughter, then you have another officer that just kind of brushed it off. You know, something got to give. So something is wrong. If it's 40 people against 4, 1 mother and 3 kids, it's a problem. So, you know, the world, the media need to know what's going on. I think that the detective need to have an investigation done on him as well as the officer. The officer that was there at that time that stated that he witnessed this, he should be able to tell the truth. If he witnessed you swinging a bat, he should be able to stand there and say that he witnessed the young man hitting you guys in the face with a brick first. So that personally, you know, we need everybody, prayer warriors. I know that they had a visual, but it's time for us to pray that truly that racism stop, you know, with communities as well as officers, you know, something got to give. And me personally, knowing this young lady, I don't look at the news as much, but when she came out and reached out to me, I don't think she would hurt a fly. You know, so we need help right now. We need help right now. This family is in need. Her 14-year-old daughter is stabbed. No one, not any, let me use correct English. No one reached out to her and her family to see as her 14-year-old daughter is hurt. But due to the fact that she tried to defend herself and she hit one of them with a baseball bat for hitting her 17-year-old and another young male in the face with a brick, she's wrong. Right, wrong is wrong. That's my whole thing. You know, so we got to start from the root of the problem. If we want justice, if we want things to change here in Baltimore City, we got to make sure that we're doing everything right. What is that? Southwest Police Department, we're on our way. We're going to come and see you. We want to know what's going on. If it take for us as a community to protest and let you know that we're not dealing with nonsense. Slavery and all that crap is over. You know, this is America. It's time for us to stand up for what's right. Now, if she was wrong in this situation, then guess what? She should be held accountable. But listening to this story, it's a mother and 3 kids, and here there's a total of 40 Caucasians. Something is wrong. And when I Googled that particular area, you know, people need to look into it and see what goes on in that particular community. Now, and I know that you mentioned that you can't even go back to your house. So what officer told you can't go back home?
I'm not sure of his name, the officer name, but first my mother went back to the house to get me some clothes, get me and my kids some clothes. They threw bottles at my car. They threw juice on my mom.
You say they.
The white people, the white guys in the neighborhood, they threw bottles at my car. They threw juice on my mom. My niece was there. My niece went back, and the officer was there. I think my niece got his name, but he told her if she comes back to back to my house, he would give her a $700 fine, and he will arrest her.
Wow.
Okay, so
This is where I live. Like, ever since this incident happened, me and my kids, we've been out, we've been staying here, we've been staying there, and my children, we are not used to that.
okay, so we're going to end this conclusion right now, and we will be going to the police department.
Yes.
The district.
Yes. Going to the district.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Samir Berkeley, and I know who stabbed me, but the police never came to investigate what happened. I stayed overnight at the hospital, and the only people that asked me questions was the ambulance people. And I just don't understand why they would lock one person up and just let them go, and they locked my mother up and my 2 cousins, and that's wrong.
Which one? Do you know what, y'all don't want to get into it, what color was it that stabbed you?
Caucasian. I know exactly what he looked like, but the police, they never came to ask me any questions.